In Palestine, Israeli shelling in the south of Gaza killed at least 50 Palestinians in the last 24 hours. In Iran, authorities reported the arrest of those responsible for the attack that killed at least 95 people in Kerman last Wednesday. And in Bangladesh, a fire destroyed hundreds of shelters in several areas in the southeast of the country on Sunday. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, Israeli shelling in the south of Gaza killed at least 50 Palestinians in the last 24 hours. According to local media, over 12 minors were among the dead. The figures relate to the Israeli bombardments launched since Saturday night against the city of Han Yunis in the south of the Gaza Strip. In this sense, the Israeli attacks against the center and south of Gaza take place after occupation forces ordered Palestinian population to mobilize towards localities in these areas. According to data from the Ministry of Health, it is estimated that the number of deaths since the beginning of the aggression against Gaza on October 7 surpasses 22,700, while more than 58,000 Palestinians have been wounded. And next Thursday and Friday, the International Court of Justice will hold a hearing in the framework of South Africa's accusation against Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. Social movements from all around the world are calling for organizations in every country to support South Africa in the hearings and hold Israel accountable. To go deeper on the matter, we welcome Suzanne Adderley, President of the National Lawyers Guild in the U.S. and member of the International Coalition of Human Rights Organizations for the End of Genocide in Palestine. Hello, Suzanne. Welcome to From the South. Can you hear me, Suzanne?
I can hear you.
Okay, welcome. Suzanne, first thing first, tell us more about the initiative to bring together global social movements to support South Africa before the ICJ. What is the plan and its importance?
Our coalition began forming several weeks ago, and it was officially launched on December 30th, a day after South Africa's crucial application in the International Court of Justice. And the coalition includes human rights organizations, anti-war organizations, and representatives of civil society and popular movements that are calling for and demanding an end to the genocide in Palestine. And we recognize that there are many legal institutions, progressive legal institutions that are working to hold Israel accountable for their crimes in Gaza and in all of Palestine. But we felt it was important to build a coalition representing popular movements that are strongly anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, and support global social justice. To raise their voices along with these legal organizations to demand an end to the genocide, to demand accountability under international law, and to use our movements to put pressure on governments throughout the world to follow the same leadership as states as South Africa have, to use our international legal mechanisms to end the genocide.
Suzanne, what is the legal framework? What convention or law does South Africa base its accusation against the Israeli government?
Well, South Africa, like many states, is a party to the Genocide Convention. And they have produced a strong, really outstanding legal complaint charging Israel with genocide, showing that Israel's actions are genocidal in character, as they are committed with the requisite specific intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as part of the broader Palestinian national, racial, and ethnic group. They have, the complaint is about 84 pages, and they have documented about 10 pages of direct quotes from Israeli officials who are expressing clear contempt for this genocide. And one of the first things that our coalition has done was to produce a letter calling on nations around the world who are also parties to the Genocide Convention to officially support South Africa's filing in the World Court by drafting their own declarations of intervention backing South Africa's complaint. And that letter has now over 800 signatures of organizations from around the country supporting that demand. Additionally, in the past few days, we've heard that Malaysia, Turkey, and Jordan are going to be making official moves to officially support the South Africa filing. And although it's a short window of time, I think there's still an opportunity for other states to follow that lead.
How important is for other governments to file declarations of intervention, as you were saying, at the International Court of Justice in support of South Africa's genocide case against Israel?
Really, it's imperative. And it's imperative for a couple of reasons. I mean, the first is we're seeing genocide being committed before our eyes. We're seeing genocide live streamed. We know, the world knows what is taking place. And we need to do everything that we can to stop that genocide from happening. And if we need to get a ruling from the World Court in order to strengthen our ability to put a stop to arming and funding Israel, then we need to make sure that that happens. But another reason why it's imperative is because in many ways, South Africa's case is going to be a test of the whole international legal structure, of the whole international legal order. This is in many ways, both in the legal case in the ICJ and in the larger popular movement throughout the world, there's been a turning point in support for Palestinians and their liberation struggle, as well as a turning point in piercing through the veil of impunity that Israel has had throughout its existence as a violent settler colonial state. And the success of this complaint by South Africa, either legally or politically, is really vital to ending the genocide, as well as preserving the integrity of the entire international legal system.
Susan, what can we expect after the hearings in next Thursday and Friday?
Well, I hope that we will get a ruling that agrees with South Africa's complaint charging Israel with genocide. And I hope then that ruling will then be followed by calls to take action to stop the genocide from happening. However, we know that the process can be unpredictable. It could be delayed. There could be, some other sort of legal barriers. We have to understand that despite, I think, the World Court being one of the strongest institutions that we have in the international legal system, many of the international legal systems are still sort of clouded by the influence of states like the United States, which we know themselves are aiding and abetting the genocide taking place in Gaza. And so it has implications for the United States as well as Israel. So they might be sort of making moves to legally and politically try to undermine South Africa's case. But what we hope is that our coalition and other organizations around the world will organize to uplift the necessary political pressure that the ICJ and the judges that sit there with integrity understand that there has to be a ruling that is putting in writing, that is putting in a legal analysis what the rest of the world knows and is witnessing before their eyes, that genocide is taking place. And that after that determination is made, then we need to figure out what the next steps are going to be to stop the genocide from happening immediately.
Thank you, Susan, for your time hearing from the South.
Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. We were talking to Susanna Adeli, president of the National Lawyers Guild in the U.S., on the global initiative to support the Palestinian people before the ICJ and hold Israel accountable for its crimes against Palestinians in Gaza. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Iran, the authorities have captured those responsible for the attack that killed at least 95 people in the city of Kerman last Wednesday. The provincial prosecutor's office announced the arrest of 32 people involved in the attack for which the Islamic State has claimed responsibility. The double bombing took place near the tomb of Qasem Soleimani, an Iranian general who headed the Revolutionary Guard Quds Force, who was killed by the U.S. The provincial prosecutor said some 16 bombs with high explosive power have been discovered at the site, and he added that over the last few months, 23 suicide bombers had been imprisoned across the province. On Saturday in Syria, U.S. military looted a new batch of crude oil from the oil fields in the country's northeastern territory. Activists near the Iraqi border reported that a new U.S. convoy of 56 tanker trucks loaded with oil left for Iraq through the illegal Mahmoudiyya crossing. In addition, the Army removed a caravan with 34 trucks, containers, and tankers at its illicit border crossing at Al-Walid. In this regard, Syria recently condemned the intensification of looting and smuggling of the country's natural wealth, calling this action a criminal act that violates international law. So far, the looting of minerals by Washington has generated losses of nearly $111 billion US dollars to the nation. Mexico's government granted legal status to the 32 migrants who were kidnapped in Tamaulipas on December 30th. Migration authorities will grant visitors cards and documents to the group of migrants for humanitarian reasons. These documents will allow them to reside and work legally in the country. Among the kidnapped migrants were Venezuelan, Honduran, and Colombian citizens who were traveling on a bus between Reynosa and Matamoros when they were intercepted by an armed commando. The mass kidnapping attracted media attention and was among the topics of Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's morning briefings. 4 people were killed in a shooting in Ecuador's coastal region amid a growing wave of violence by criminal gangs in that nation. According to local media, the incident was reported in the city of Duran, in the province of Guayas. The fatal victims were 3 women and 1 man, while a baby was wounded in the shooting. On the other hand, a bus was reportedly set on fire in the city of Guayaquil by a group of extortionists. Ecuador is going through the greatest insecurity crisis in its history, where murders, kidnappings, extortions, prison riots, and assaults are becoming more and more frequent. Also in Ecuador, members of the National Union of Educators called for a mobilization in rejection of President Daniel Noboa's proposal for a referendum. The teachers' union issued a statement in which they described the referendum as inconvenient, erratic, and unnecessary. They also denounced that it will only lead to a waste of money in the midst of a fiscal crisis, while they consider that more than $50 million that will be used in such consultation, which they affirm can be made through legal reforms, could instead be invested in public policies and prevention plans so that children and young people are no longer recruited by criminal gangs. In this sense, they called for a day of nationwide demonstration to be held on January 18th in defense of life and security. The Brazilian government informed that it will build a democracy museum in memory of Bolsonaristas' attack to the 3 seats of state power carried out on January 8, 2023. According to a statement issued by the Brazilian Ministry of Culture, the Growth Acceleration Program guaranteed $8.2 million for the project, for which a parcel of land located in the north side of the ministry's esplanade in the center of the capital Brasilia has been awarded. Moreover, it also states that once the land is available, a national contest will be held to select the architectural project for the space in question, and that only after this stage the works will be put out to tender, with construction scheduled to start in 2025. The ministry also specified that the museum will be built together with all the democratic sectors within the country and will not be linked to any political entity. Paraguay's government decrees alert in view of dengue and COVID-19 circulation in the country. This Sunday, the Ministry of Health reported that the joint appearance of these diseases in the country has already claimed the lives of at least 4 people and is spread in different sectors, especially among children and teenagers. Therefore, the health entity calls on specialists to evaluate each of the diseases individually, as their combined action can be dangerous. Likewise, the authorities make a call to the sick people not to self-medicate and instead seek care at health centers and determine the origin of their illness, thus qualifying the diseases as co-infection, co-circulation, and COVID-dengue. In Chile, the Supreme Court of Justice sentenced 10 retired military officers to 20 years in prison for burning 2 young men alive in 1986 during the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. The second criminal chamber of the Supreme Court rejected all the appeals presented by the lawyers of the accused former military personnel. Authors of the aggravated homicide in the case of Rodrigo Rojas de Negri and the attempted homicide of Carmen Gloria Quintana. There were also lower sentences for 4 former conscripts accused of being accomplices and 2 other former members of the military as accessories. This case, known as the Quemados case, is one of the most significant of the last years of the Pinochet dictatorship, which left more than 3,200 victims. U.S. Civil Aviation Authority suspended operations of Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft following a new incident. The suspension took place this Friday after a Boeing 737 MAX 9 with more than 170 passengers on board made an emergency landing at Portland Airport when a window exploded in mid-flight. The aircraft, operated by the national carrier Alaska Airlines, was flying from Oregon to California. Concerning this event, the authorities announced that all passengers escaped safely from the accident. The Federal Aviation Administration announced that it will issue a temporary stand-down order for certain Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft operated by U.S. airlines. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. A fire destroyed hundreds of shelters in several areas in the southeast of Bangladesh on Sunday. According to local media, at least 2,500 people have been left homeless after the blaze broke out in the Rohingya refugee camp. The fire destroyed some 500 makeshift shelters before the intervention of firefighters, who, after more than 3 hours of extinguishing work, managed to control the flames. No casualties have been reported so far. However, damage assessments continue. Hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees from Myanmar have been living in refugee camps in Bangladesh since August 2017 to escape violence and destruction of their homes and villages. In Italy, the Superior Institute of Health reported over 370 deaths per week and 38,737 cases of COVID-19. The Director General for Health Prevention of the Ministry of Health reported a 33% increase in the number of cases compared to the 279 patients who died between December 21st and the 27th last year. In Italy, 218,284 people are still positive for the disease, of whom 6,320 are in general hospital wards. The Director General also pointed out that in the last week, 242,518 tests were carried out to detect the presence of the virus, and the positive rate was 16 percentage points, 2.1 points lower than in the previous 7 days. In France, workers at the Abbey of Mont Saint-Michel remain on general strike after 11 days demanding better working conditions. A quarter of the workers at one of France's main attractions and a World Heritage Site have stopped their work because they say it is physically impossible to continue working with the current conditions of the building. Protesters say that given the cold, humidity, and the steps they have to climb every day, The number of employees must be increased and also the salary, as well as repairs to the monument's infrastructure. The Mont Saint-Michel was named a World Heritage Site in 1979 by UNESCO and received more than 3 million visitors a year. Orthodox Christians in Russia gather in churches to celebrate their Christmas festivities. This holiday, marked by fervent vigils and traditional ceremonies, has its origins in the centuries-old decision of the Orthodox to separate from the Catholic Church and follow a different calendar from the one used by most of the world today. The main Orthodox Christian service took place on January 6, a day before the Orthodox Christmas Day, which is on January 7th. On the occasion of the celebration, the Russian President Vladimir Putin sent messages of congratulations and best wishes to his Orthodox compatriots while highlighting the holiday as representative of the union of millions of people around the ideals of kindness, mercy, and justice. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.